Grit and Bricks. Grit and Bricks.
So, yeah, Suzanne Sharkey.
Yes.
Super stoked to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Very excited. It would have been cool if you filled out that questionnaire properly.
Okay. Showtime. Do the thing.
Do the thing.
Do the thing.
Do the dance.
Just do it. Magic. Go now. Right now. Right now. You don't like being put on the spot. Sorry.
That's going to be in the intro.
I like your intro. I really do. You didn't record it though, did you? That was something else?
No, I hired a guy on
It was
Fiverr to do that.
awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. I love it. Grit and Bricks. The show with about community and people getting together.
Yeah.
Do you have a Facebook group yet?
I might do a new one, a new intro.
No, I like it. What's not to like?
I don't know. I mean, it's not terrible. I don't know. Anyway.
You want to put that instead? Do it.
Do it now.
Do it. Just do it. Anyway. All right.
Yeah.
My name is Suzanne Sharkey. I've been doing real estate for 4 years now, full time. You and I met each other about 3.5 years ago. During that 4-year time, I had joined a real estate group, is why I think I finally felt comfortable enough to do it full time, because prior to that, I was doing tech support for my mom for years. Another thing about me is I used to be an entrepreneur. Just as a kid, I was always like hustling in the background. So when I was younger in college, I used to sell college textbooks. I used to sell things on eBay, on Amazon. I liked having nice things, and I had no way of working a job to get money to go buy those things. So I would buy things at a discount. I would sell them for more online. I got really heavy into textbooks because I could flip them really fast. And Amazon had a program back in the day where they would buy textbooks. So I would literally sell a textbook, and then I would backfill the order with the cheaper textbook that I either bought on Amazon or elsewhere. And that's how I used to make money. So I used to make like $30 a flip on a textbook.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And the thing that I loved about it is I used to run a really lean operation, because my mom was like, what the hell are you doing? Why are we getting textbooks like every day in the mail? And I was like, don't worry about it. Like, close your eyes. And textbooks are heavy and they take up a lot of space. And so that's when I started being like, okay, let me sell the book first and then let me backfill the order. And if I can't backfill the order, then we'll just cancel the order. That way, I've already sold the book. All I have to do is just complete it instead of buying all this inventory and then trying to sell it. Mm-hmm. I've already made the sale. Now I just need to fulfill it. Yeah, so that's what I used to do on Amazon. And then over the years, I went to school for supply chain management, graduated, left immediately because I wanted to get out of Rhode Island. Went to Korea for a couple years. I was a corporate trainer out there. Missed family, honestly, and I never really set roots in Korea because I knew like that was not my forever place. Mm-hmm. Came back to New Jersey. Then I have what I call my cult phase. So I went down to Florida with this guy who was a futurist, which means all he does is think about the future, how to optimize, how to live life more sanely. And a lot of the stuff that he talked about is behaviorism, like how we make choices really affects how we live our lives. So his name is Jacques Fresco. The project was called the Venus Project. It's still ongoing today, so you can go and visit his center. But he talks about extrusions and just like nowadays we have, this was 40 years ago when he first started, now probably like 50, 60. But back in the day when he first started, it was like cutting edge. We have something today where we talk about, you know how Elon has those houses that pop up? Mm-hmm. Back in Texas, he's like, you ship them flat and then you open it up and it's a whole house that he can put people in. Yeah. So he actually invented something like that years ago. It was called the Trend House. And I think he sold it to Disney at the time because Disney was creating its parks and needed places to put their people. They bought the patent and they never used it. And drama later ensues that you find out that people were trying to squelch certain inventions that were too cutting edge, too ahead of his time, and he's one of those. So Jacques Fresco, he won awards with United Nations for the work that he did. He was featured in a, what do you call that, like a series. It's called the Zeitgeist, but it was always there was a movie series talking, or a documentary series talking about like all the things that are wrong with the world. And so by the time they got to like movie 3 and 4, people were so depressed. They were like, we get it. We know that there's problems. Nobody knows how to fix it. Mm-hmm. And then that's when somebody discovered Jacques. And then from there, he like blew up. Anyway, I ended up in Florida for some time. Came back to Jersey for a little bit, worked for Amazon. And then I left, came back to Rhode Island, was working for Tesla. And then left around COVID and then got serious about real estate stuff. So that's when you and I met each other during that time. But first started out as a wholesaler. Then I encouraged my partner and I to start buying our own flips because it's part of the growth. Like you get to a point where you need to buy your own stuff. If your stuff is that hot and is such a good deal, buy your own deal. And if you have enough experience of like selling houses, like it's just the necessary next step that you have to take. But it's scary to take those steps. So pushed him. We did a couple of flips together. And then as I've gone through life this year, I'm doing flips on my own now, which I, on my own, or if I partner with somebody, it's a very strategic partner that I pick. I'm definitely headed towards having more female partners. So that's something I know that I want to do as I go forward, is giving more time, love, attention, energy into fostering women being successful in the real estate space. Yeah, I think just it's very male dominated. We'll talk later on about male, in my opinion, being very competitive. And so I think with women, it's just a different speed. It's a little bit of a different gear shift. And yeah, I think if women have just a little extra time, love, attention, care, instruction, resources, they could be crazy, crazy powerful in this industry. Just women have a lot of skill sets that would be very successful in real estate. So they just need somebody to hold their hand and say, you can do it. And then once we do one or two deals, then it's enough experience and confidence that they can go off and do it on their own. I was thinking on the way up, I don't remember how you and I first met.
I signed up for Sub 2, and they had put me in they gave me the Discord access, right?
Yep.
And then I'm pretty sure in there I was like, hey, I'm this person from here. And then you were the first one to call me. And you didn't even I don't think you even introduced yourself by your name first. You're just like, hey.
I never do, because I'm more into your business.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, I'm the regional leader for Sub 2. Not regional. Was it regional?
Yeah.
Yeah, regional leader for Sub 2. And then, the rest is history.
I called you on the phone?
Yeah, you called me. Yeah.
I think I do remember this. Yeah. But you said something that triggered me to call you, because I didn't call just anybody.
Oh, I have no idea what that was.
I called if I saw something in you, or if you were working on something like a specific problem, that's when I would reach out to people, because there were too many people to reach out to.
Yeah.
And our phone call is not short. I'm not short. I'm more verbose.
You're like 5'1", 5 feet.
5'4".
Oh.
It's 5'3.5". But the average woman is 5'4", so I call it 5'4". Yeah, it's also on my driver's license. Okay. But no, usually I don't reach out to just anyone. So if I thought you were a little bit special, you had skills to offer, then usually as soon as I first saw somebody, I would reach out and just touch base and see, how are you? What are you up to? What do you got going on? Let's figure out how to ingratiate. Is that the word? How to bring it all in? I
don't know. I've never heard of that word.
It's a word. That much I know. Is it the right word? I'm not sure.
It's a big word.
It is a big word. Yeah, it's okay, little man. You'll be fine. Okay. You'll be fine.
Yeah, you called me. It was very early on.
Yeah.
Too. I didn't know a lot of people yet. But back to your question about what I know about you. I know your name is Suzanne Sharkey.
Good stuff.
Yeah, we'll start there. You drive a pretty cool Tesla.
You like to shit talk.
Yeah.
I actually didn't call you this time because I didn't want another video of there's the biggest loser I ever saw.
If you didn't think I was already thinking that, I just got tied up. I was going to go outside and do the same thing again.
Just wait for me? Yeah.
Be like, what a loser. This loser activity.
She thinks she's so cool in this car. Actually, I thought about that. So back in 2018, I was working for Tesla.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I knew my next car was going to be a Tesla. I just, and I remember when I bought it, I was like, down payment on a house car. And at the end of the year, I think on the 28th, and there's 31 days in December, Elon was like, we'll give you a $10,000 package. We'll give you the full self-driving software, and we'll give you the premium interior upgrade for free, which is all heated seats, which I have to have. So at that point, I bought one. I had a boyfriend at the time. I made him buy his dream car, which was the performance version of the car. Really stupid. Nobody needs that car. But if you ever want to outrun the cops, that's the car to do it in. Yeah. So when we first bought the car, I used to think like, oh my God, I'm going to be hot shit when I'm driving this. Like everybody's going to be like, what? Because this was 2018.
Yeah.
Every day was like D-Day in Tesla, where we were like, oh my God, we're going to go bankrupt. For the mission. We got to, whatever, sell the car. I'm delivering cars on New Year's Eve and into the day because I'm delivering at midnight up in New Hampshire, and I'm picking up a Chevy Volt and driving that like 2.5 hours back down to Dedham, Massachusetts.
So you're driving the Tesla up to the customer? Because
we don't get triggered as earning money until the car is delivered. Once the car is delivered, that's when the sale is made. And so for us to hit our numbers December 2018, we had to deliver cars. And so that's why they were like, for the mission, stop what you're doing, go deliver cars. We need as many cars to be delivered before the 31st as possible. So that's what I was doing up there. And I remember as I was driving the car, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be so hot shit. Everybody's going to be like, whoa, they're here, Tesla. Ah. The only people that care about it are if I pass by a playground of like prepubescent, like third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, those are the only people that care. And they lose their minds. I think there's some sort of like a game that they're playing where they design their cars, and most of the kids had Teslas in their little racing app. So when they see one in real life, they get really excited. It's cute. Yeah.
Wow. So let's rewind a bit.
Yeah.
And back to how we met. Join Sub 2. You called me. How did you get into that? So, like, were you real estate investing in 2018? Were you doing that?
No. So I consider myself fourth generation real estate. So going all the way back, my grandma was born during the Depression, and her mom died early on, and then her father remarried, and then he died. And so she and the stepmom were living off of rental income or whatever they could collect at the time during the Depression. So grandma was a broker. She invested. When she passed away, she had 3 houses. She died a millionaire, and she was like a high school teacher over at Classical High School in Rhode Island. So this is not, she's not making a big income at all. And my grandpa was like the English teacher too. So 2 high school teacher salaries. And she's dying a multimillionaire because of the investments that she made along the way. And she didn't do it where she like bought a house, rented it. She would buy a house, live in it, and then buy another house and keep working her way up, or buy them when they're inexpensive and just live in it. So these are all her personal homes. But when she passed away a multimillionaire because of it. So we always knew real estate was good. When we moved up to Rhode Island, my dad retired from the military after doing 22 and a half years in the Army, and she bought a house for $250,000 at the time, and then my dad bought it from her, which is why we ended up moving to Rhode Island. And so we always knew like grandma was good at real estate, grandma was good at buying property. And then my aunt on my mom's side did really well. She was like #1 agent in all of like New Brunswick, New Jersey back in the day. She killed herself doing it, and I think she got diabetes because she never like ate on time, because she was all over, she was everywhere all the time. But she did such a good job. She made a great income that when my mom was ready to go back into the workforce after having 4 kids, she went into real estate. And I missed having my mom around all the time because she was a stay-at-home mom going into working. And it's like, it's a stark difference. You come home from school and you're like, I'm here, and nobody's there to greet you. So I started being my mom's tech support. She's Korean. Her English is not that, her English is good enough. She's a court interpreter. She's a certified court interpreter. Okay. But like when it comes to emails, it's not great. And I like to give my mom a little bit of power when she talks, especially via email, because in real estate, people kind of walk all over you, or they'll treat you a little bit shitty because they're hoping that you step up to the plate and you're going to prove them wrong and be the hero. So sometimes I feel like people put you down extra because they're hoping that you're going to turn the corner and your ego is going to want to show off and deliver something amazing for them. Anyway, so some people, and then I think on top of it too, that to women, people can be really like forceful with them and shit on them a little bit more. So anyway, I became mom's tech support. I used to sit, shotgun, and back in the day when we had a book, we would be like D9 is Apple Street in New Jersey. But so I would do her GPS for her in the passenger seat. So on the weekends, we would go to the open houses and see what was available. I mean, the internet existed, but that's just what we did.
Wasn't great, yeah.
And then also like dealing with MLS over in New Jersey, I used to log into the systems, print out what she needed to print out, generate reports. I used to comp for my mom when I was like 13, 14 years old
really?
because I wanted to stay close to her. So back when you met me, I had left Tesla and I wanted to get into real estate, but I was waiting almost for like permission to do it, which is such a bizarre thing.
2021?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I left Tesla, about before COVID happened, I think. Yeah, before COVID happened, I had left. I knew real estate was always great. Grandma had passed away. We were working on flipping her house. So yeah, I had always wanted to do it, but I was terrified of doing it on my own. And I think I was also terrified of not having mom's permission, because she used to always talk about how awful real estate was, because my mom is a little bit of like a Jehovah's Witness, not like that. But what I'm trying to explain is she will work with like the poorest of the poor, the lowest of the low, like the worst clients you could possibly work with because they're so unlendable and they have like no budget for anything. She worked with them because she has a bleeding heart. And so she would not have good experiences often, or clients would go around her and do whatever else. So she would have some heartbreak over real estate. So she never wanted me to get into it. And I'm like, Mom, no offense, but I'm a little bit better than you. So for the longest time, I was waiting for her blessing, which I think is a really interesting thing, that most people have things that they want to do in life. You don't need permission from anybody. Not at all. But there's something about us that's like waiting for permission from the authorities that may be, whoever that is.
We took a little break because you wanted to...
Say hi to your wife.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we left off, you were talking about how you got into real estate investing. Your grandmother had become a multimillionaire by moving into homes and working her way up. So yeah, that's the thing. That's
and then my mom was an agent.
Your mom was an agent.
I worked directly with her for years. I wanted to do it myself. It's funnily enough, Marilyn Savage, right?
Yeah.
I used to follow her. So years ago, living at my parents' house, I wanted to move out, right? For some reason, I used to be on all the off-market real estate. I've always been one of those like buying and selling. So like, I used to do eBay. I used to do Amazon. Before Amazon was doing textbooks, like buying and selling, they used to have a program. So I used to sell textbooks out of my mother's basement when I was in college. But I've always had this like entrepreneurial streak in me. And so for some reason back in the day, I used to be looking at properties. And I used to be looking at Marilyn Savage's properties years ago. And the way that she writes her advertisement, her listing, whatever, I used to always think like, God, I wish I had money to go buy that. That sounds like an amazing deal. And then I think the first deal I did in real estate, the first flip that I ended up sinking my teeth into, she found me on that flip. It was like 20 wholesalers later, and she called me directly and she's like, "Hi, this is Marilyn Savage." And I was like, "No fucking way. I know exactly who you are." For like, I've been looking at your shit for 15 years, been wanting to buy your stuff. And then she's talking about buying a house for me, and now she's a good friend of mine. Yeah.
Yeah, I think wasn't she at a couple of the meetups?
So she's once I locked in with her, I was like, I'm bringing you everywhere. She's part of the Astro family, so I've always considered her part of like our extended family in our real estate group. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, she's been in real estate for
years.
So long.
Years. Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny, her last name was Savage. She kind of is a savage.
Yeah. She's been in it for years. She has the deepest buyers list I've ever seen. I hate doing dispositions. Like, I'm very much a buyer. I like to buy stuff. I suck at selling. When I sell things, I feel like a skeezy salesman where I'm trying to push my shit on you.
Hey, what are you saying?
Not that I'm saying anything weird, but you get to a point where you're like, you know what? I like my deal. If you're too dumb that I constantly have to sell you, you know what? Go fuck yourself. I'm just going to buy my own deal. So that's what ended up happening is during COVID, people were getting really weird about seeing the property. And for me, a tall tale sign of a real buyer is somebody who goes to see the property. Because if I have you like chatting me up in my ear or texting me whatever, but you never want to come out and see the property, you're not a real buyer. You're some sort of wholesaler, some sort of daisy chainer. But every real buyer will go see the property. And then during COVID, nobody wanted to come out because everybody was like weirded out about everything. It just, everything was diseased and we didn't want to catch the vid, right? Yeah. So at that point in time, I got tired of like selling my deals. And I was like, listen, my deal's a good deal. And if you're too dense to understand it, then I'm just going to buy my own shit. And that's when I started buying my own stuff. But it was hard because I don't know why, but I always feel like whenever I do something new, it's like a huge like mountain to climb. It's
Yeah.
like you get to a plateau. Once you're doing something, it feels like a plateau, but just that initial start is such a steep climb that makes me want to throw up the entire time. But half the time I'll get to a point where I'm like, I'm angry about something. I'm angry that my buyer's too dumb to understand my deal. And that pushes me into like the next chapter of growth. So for me, that's been my pattern for years, is getting really pissed off and then being forced to a next level of something.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you first got in, were you funding your own deals, or did you like partner with somebody?
Yeah. So the first one, another pattern of mine I also noticed is I always wanted to be like daddy's little girl. I have daddy issues and I'm learning about this now. Okay. But what I mean by that is instead of doing a deal on my own, I always wanted to have a partner with me, just somebody to like bounce ideas off of, some like one extra layer of comfort for me. So for most of the deals that I would do, you can ask my business partners, I fucking do everything on it. I do everything on it because I'm curious and I want to know, or I get frustrated watching other people do it, or whatever the case may be. I end up doing quite a bit of it on my own, but just having somebody else's name on that, being able to call somebody else and talk through a problem has always been helpful for me. So when I started, I've always been doing them with partners. The first one I did, the one that Marilyn called me on, was with Clinton Reynolds, and we were both like pushing each other to finally flip. And then during COVID, we were like, you know what, fuck all these guys. They don't want to pay our money. Then we're going to make more of our money on this rather than just making just the wholesale fee. We're going to make the wholesale and the flip money on it. So go fuck yourselves. You don't want to buy my deal. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So how did you go from that and then into Sub 2 and becoming the regional leader there?
When I joined Sub 2, I had, it's crazy, for about 8 months, actually Tesla, believe it or not, that car got me into Sub 2. I bought the car. I used to drive often during COVID to my sister's house in New Jersey. She had a COVID baby and she needed help taking care of it. Nobody's going to put their kid into daycare at the time because COVID is crazy. So I used to drive from Rhode Island to go visit her once a month and help take care of a kid. I had already left Tesla, and Tesla has like a really good podcast thing. I've never used podcasts before, but on that car, I'm there for 4 fucking hours, stuck in a car. What am I going to do? I'm going to listen to something good. And so I got into doing like money or something, and I ended up on Wholesaling Inc. And Wholesaling Inc. at one point had Brent Daniels on it, and I would listen a lot to Tom Kroll and Brent Daniels. And then Brent Daniels obviously is together with Pace Morby, and at some point, I found Pace Morby through that. Once I found Pace Morby, then I'm on the Facebook group, browsing, lurking, whatever. And I made like one friend, and so we would direct message each other. I feel like this is back in like the MySpace days of things, like making online friends. My dad was military, and so like it was always taboo. Don't make internet friends. I'm a 90s kid, so everything is scary. Like, where are your kids after 10:30 at night? So like all of this was a no-no. But I remember he was so nice, so helpful. I'm still friends with him to this day. And we would go back and forth and being like, how much is it? Like, is it for real? Like, what are they talking about? Sounds too good to be true. Like, hey, we would chit chat for like 8 months. And it got to a point where he asked me at the end of the year, he was like, did you do it? And I was like, no. And I tried to give him a reason why I didn't do it. And I'm a little bit self-aware enough to know that every reason I was going to give him was complete crap.
Yeah.
To where I was like, I can think it. I can't even allow myself to say it because it's such bullshit. And so I was, and I called them immediately and I was like, hey, you need to sign me up today because I'm so full of shit that if I get in my head again, I won't allow myself to do this thing that I've been wanting to do for months now. And so I signed up, I think I always say like January 16th is my Sub 2 birthday, but it's actually like, I think the 21st when I looked it up. But I joined at the beginning. I didn't do anything. I made we were on the monthly payment cycle or whatever it was. So by like March, I was like, you know what? I'm paying for this. I haven't done anything with it. And so I got mad. Remember I told you my pattern? I get mad and then do something. So I got mad and I was like, fuck this noise. I'm going to get my money's worth. Like, where are these bitches at? Like, where are people in New England at? Like, what's up? And so I remember that night I was like, I was searching on Facebook and I found Celicia. And so I messaged her and I was like, hey, you guys have a weekly meeting. How come like I'm not invited? Like, what's up with that? And she wrote me back. She goes, oh, hey Queen, we're meeting right now. Jump in. And I was like, you know, when you're a big dog talking a big talk and then you suddenly go, oh shit, I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready to meet people. Are you kidding me? And so I was like going to throw up. And then I was like, fuck it, send it. So I jumped in. It wasn't that many people. I think back in the day we had maybe like 7 people when we started and only like 3 or 4 showed up to the call every single week. But I got on that call and I remember getting off that call and feeling really good about just the conversations we had, feeling more hopeful. How I would describe it now is we call it like a higher vibration. You go into something not feeling whatever way that you feel. So you're talking about like every day you kind of feel like at a certain energy level and then you do something or something exciting happens and it raises your energy level up. You're at a higher vibration is what we call it now. I'm a little into the woo-woo, so I'll tell you more about my woo-woo stuff. Okay. We call it higher vibration. Anyway, I got off the call. I remember being like at a higher vibration and being like, yeah, this is the right thing. I'm excited that I'm here. And we had so many ideas of things that we were going to do. And then fast forward to next week when it's time to get on the call. And I was like, fuck, I haven't even thought once about calling somebody, messaging someone, posting something, looking at Zillow. I haven't done shit. I had a great time on the phone call, talked all this game up, said all these things that I wanted to do. Now it's go time 1 week later, and I have nothing to report on because I didn't do anything. I let my day get ahead of me. Everything got ahead of me and nothing got accomplished. And so I think I either went into that meeting or I might have skipped it, but I got to a point where I was like, I want to hide. I know that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I want to be a certain person and I'm not there yet. And I'm realizing who I am now. And I don't think I like who I am now, which is a person who's not doing what they want to do. And so I remember not wanting to come to the meetups or come to the meetings. And I remember at some point having this conversation and telling them like, hey, I haven't been coming because I haven't been doing any work. And I don't want to come in here being like a loser and not contributing and not doing anything and just being like a bump on the log. I don't want to do that. So that's why I'm not coming. And I had like Tiz reached out to me, Anthony McTizick out of Springfield, Massachusetts now? Yeah. No. He's in Suffield, Connecticut now.
Yeah, I was saying he was in Connecticut.
He moved. Yeah. So Anthony McTizick and then Clinton Reynolds out of like Pawtucket, Rhode Island. So they both reached out to me and they're like, you know them, how they talk. Clinton too.
Clinton Reynolds.
Clinton, biggest white boy. Let me do my impression of him. No, man. No, see, Suzanne.
Oh, he's tall. He's
yes,
a tall. Yeah,
yes.
I know exactly who that is now.
Yes, because my impression is so good.
He was at the SNU meetup, right?
Who?
At the SNU, at the SNHU one we did, the big one.
Yes, I think he came at the very
Creative
end.
Elite.
Yes. So he's a data 4. He's in Rhode Island. Half the time it's hard for me. I was like pulling teeth to get him out, but he's a super sweetheart. So
yeah, I know who he is. Yep.
When we first started, it was him, McTizick, and maybe Celicia that were kind of like running the show at the time. And I remember when we started, we had the heart-to-heart where they were like, you're being dumb. Just come to the meetings. Just come. And I remember Clinton in my head being like, yeah, just to come get momentum. Like, you know, ride with us, roll with us, whatever. But I remember just him being so familial and warm and encouraging that it helped me shake all that bullshit of, I don't deserve to be here. I didn't earn it. I'm not deserving of it. So I ended up showing up regularly to the meetings. And at one point I discovered none of them had done a deal yet. None of them had done a creative deal. Nobody had done a deal. And so Sub 2 was probably like a year and a half in because it started during COVID. I think like May 2020 is when it started. And so it was a year later and nobody in our regional group had done a deal. And I remember like, what do you call that? Like when the curtains fall down and you see who's behind the curtains or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just like, oh my God. But I remember initially being like depressed, disheartened about it because I was like, what is this facade? Like, because when you first sign up, you pay all this money thinking, is this a scam? And
That's
then
exactly what I thought it was.
starts to
I was
be
like,
good.
hey,
It starts to be
just be a
good.
write-off.
It starts to be
Yeah.
good. And then you hear that part and you're like, holy shit, what? Nobody's done a deal yet? But I remember very quickly just with that group of people, we went from being like, nobody's done a deal yet. And rather than like shaming or judging and being like, oh, you loser, been in here forever, didn't do shit. It wasn't even that for half a second because next second was it was just, I don't even know how to describe this feeling, but very competitive to say, what do we got to do to get something on the board? Obviously, this shit is real. Obviously, other people are having success. Why can't we not have that here too? And so I remember throwing everything behind everybody. And so we would look at each other as like pipelines, and the question was, which deal is closest to the finish line? Let's pull that deal through. And so I remember one of the first deals that we ever even got under contract was middle of fucking nowhere. Where is this place? Arizona. It's very famous. There's a song about it. Literally middle of nowhere. What is it? Highway 495 or something?
Oh, I don't know.
No, come on. I feel like you know music. No,
it's country. I don't know.
No. Maybe it's a country song, but it's like whatever those, those interstate songs where it's like, oh, interstate.
What the fuck are you talking about? No.
I will find the song. It's some sort of interstate song.
You want to Google it real quick?
That they made about this. Gilbert, Arizona? Is that a place?
Maybe.
I think it was Gilbert. And there's a famous song about, let me see what Google says. So famous song about middle of nowhere, Arizona.
I'd be surprised when it pops something up.
I'm not trying to be rude to Arizona. I get no internet here in New Hampshire. Anyway, maybe Gilbert.
Oh, we don't have, I changed my Wi-Fi setup. That's why it's not working now.
I didn't connect last time. I'll find it. Maybe it's Gilbert. Gilbert sounds familiar, but maybe it's not Gilbert. It was literally middle of nowhere, Arizona. And that's what made the deal hard to sell. It was also near like reservation land. And so I found out it was really hard to rent in that area too, because, the Native Americans that are like off or on the reservation are all really drunk half the time. And it's a problem in that area. Anyway, so talked to the guy, really motivated seller, got him under contract. I remember all of us were like throwing up, pissing our pants, like nervous that like something was happening, and trying to move this deal forward. It didn't go through, which is fine, but it was that proof of concept that the shit is real. And if we can work together, leverage each other, like we can have something. So it was all just a race to constantly push every deal, every opportunity we could to get something across the finish line. And so that's how we first started. That's the feeling that I love about Sub 2, is that very familial feeling. Everybody has each other's backs, and we're there genuinely interested to see each other win. Because when you win, I win. I feel your joy. I feel that. It's my joy too, even if like financially. And that was the other good thing, is that I did a couple deals with like Clinton Reynolds. One time I had a babysit, we had one of those agents that was really into like, just, what do you call that? They needle things. They ask too many questions and they're busybody and whatever. And so this was a foreclosure deal that was going to auction. She was some sort of family friend that got like scooped into the mix. Her commission was like pushing the deal out of like potential reach. And so we were worried she was going to mess things up. And then we were going to do our investors open house thing. And so Jason Lopes out of Haverhill.
He just got licensed, by the way.
I saw that. I like his videos nowadays. I've been watching, but out of Haverhill, I think it was his deal, and then Clinton Reynolds, he brought the buyer for it. But on that deal, the assignment fee was $3,500. Teeny, tiny. I wouldn't even touch a assignment fee that small. But out of that fee, they were trying to give me $500 just for babysitting that lady one day, and for like meeting them at the house another day. I really did nothing. I don't have the lead. I didn't have to deal with too much, but they wanted to pay me that much out of it. And so that's always how I knew Sub 2 to be, is that we all watch out for each other. We all try to make sure that somebody gets some piece of the pie, that everybody gets fed, and then we're not hyper focused on each deal. It's more with the long-term vision in mind that everybody eats at our table. Everybody is successful. It's a majority of deals that will come. It's the whole abundance mindset. So that's what I love so much about Sub 2, which is why I was willing to do all the things that I did, which was, you sit there and you get to a point where you're like, guys, we could have so much more. Like, let's have a meetup. Let's do this. Any good idea? Because I love these people at this point in time. Like, we're working together, we're pushing each other, holding each other accountable, watching each other's backs. I remember I would post a deal that I did in Connecticut, and like a week later, I would have somebody from our Sub 2 New England family reach out and be like, yo, your deal that you were talking about last Thursday, somebody else posted it. And how nice is that you have like this network of people that's watching out for you? I don't have to pay somebody to do that. They genuinely want for my best interest. So anyway, I love these people. Anytime we had an idea of like, let's do something fun, like you were the one who created Creative Elite, right? You were like, this is you. I want to have the biggest party ever. Oh, the dopest, the epicest, the raddest, whatever you were.
I don't think I
Yeah,
said the
you,
word rad, but
yeah, but I remember
Yeah.
I was like, so what's your goal? What are you trying to do? And you were just like, I want to have a sick ass party. And I was like, I feel you, but why don't we also do a couple more productive things when we get together? But yeah, so anytime there was an idea, I don't know if that's my love language, but I want to make your wildest dreams come true. That's who I am. If there's something good and I like you, I want you to have it. And so at that point, I kept pushing Anthony McTizzick and Clinton Reynolds. And I was like, oh, hey, corporate is offering this thing, or sub to the entity, had this resource for leaders, or had this, or what are we doing about that? Are we getting on that? Are we, whatever resources, opportunities they had, I wanted to make sure that we were getting it too, because I wanted us to have everything. So our first meetup ever, I think, was 2021, July 30th, like end of July. Got together. It was so freaking hot. I ended up finding astro flipping guys through another guy in Sub 2. So Sub 2 guy got together with an astro guy, had a firm out of Worcester. They let us use their office. It was the first time we ever met in person. It was really cool too, because people that you thought were really big, you meet them in person. Like I remember meeting Z and being like, what are you, like 5'0", 5'-4"? Like, what are you? You're so small. But we were so happy just to meet each other. Mm-hmm. Like it's, and I think during COVID too, because you meet people during COVID, you're working so much. Everybody, we're friends, but in COVID, everybody was too scared to get together. Do I trust you and your hygiene enough to like meet you in person and expose myself to your germs? Yeah. So no, we were so happy to get together. So that was the first one. And then every single quarter thereafter, I made it a point for us to get together. I have a background in like leadership stuff. I used to do it in college. And so it was called SOLC, Student Organizational Leadership Consultants. We would talk about like leadership theories. There were games and activities we could do to kind of like help break people out of their shell and just get to the heart of the matter. And so I would organize things based on that. So we'd have like intensive questions that we could ask people, like, what's the heaviest thing that you're dealing with personally that nobody knows about? What's the heaviest thing that you're dealing with in your business that nobody knows about? And so what I would do is I have people write it down on a piece of paper. We would put it together, mix up the paper so nobody knows whose it is. Okay. And then we would read it and just say, listen, like, this is our group. This is, just so you know, these are things that people are dealing with, and just be tactful, just be mindful that's these are things that people are struggling with.
I did a similar exercise in one of my Army classes.
Yeah,
I did that.
I remember you were like a trainer, right?
Well, I mean, I've given classes, but I wasn't like my title wasn't like
right.
Oh no, yeah,
Lieutenant Big Dog.
I helped train the RSP kids, which is like the kids that go before basic training. Yeah.
So I love that stuff, because my feeling is at the end of the day, humans are on this planet and we want to be connected. There are things about you that I resonate with. There are, like you have a military background. My dad has a military background, and I feel there's a respect. And I think that's probably why I first reached out on that call to you, is because you were military and you had mentioned something. I think you also mentioned something about like wanting to do something for veterans. And so because I have a soft spot for that, I resonated with that, which is why I reached out and connected with you. But going back, humans want to be connected. I think we are connected people, period. I think if you have more connections, you're healthier. If you have good connections, you're healthier. If you are lacking connections, that's when I think people become depressed. They don't have a lot of connections, or their connections are not strong, and then they don't feel connected. They feel alone. And that's when I think depression creeps in. So for me, I think us as humans want to be connected. And then too often, like I dealt with anxiety growing up as a kid. I was always nervous about everything. And I know how much fun I have with people once I feel connected with them, because now you're playing, now you're having fun. And so one of the big goals that I had is anytime I was introducing new people to each other, I wanted to melt that ice. What do you call that? Breaking the ice that people have, that stupid initial, like, how do we do this? Blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to just eliminate all of that because you guys actually really want to be friends. Your best friend could be next to you and you wouldn't know for years because you two are too stupid to say something to each other. So if there's a way for me to break that, melt that, get you connected faster, then you guys can be friends faster and have more fun that way. So that's usually what I'm trying to do at a meetup.
Yeah, I know there was like times I'd be nervous to talk to you because you're just gonna like dig right to the root of whatever
Right.
it was. So, like,
You can't hide from me.
No, I couldn't. I was like, I don't want to talk to Shark. She's gonna make me feel bad.
No, but you would feel better after having said whatever thing that you were holding back on.
Yeah.
And again, it all comes back from my experience. So when I was growing up, I remember hiding a lot all the time. And I remember waiting for my life to start, waiting to be me. And so when I see people out there, I can see people being insecure. I can see people withholding. I can see them being reserved. And half the time I'm like, you don't realize how amazing you are. You don't realize how much fun somebody could be having with you until you finally get there. Let me just speed it up a little bit. Like I'm so tired of waiting because I felt like my childhood, I was waiting. So I was waiting for everything, just waiting for my life to start. So when I'm out in the real world and I'm an adult now and I can control whatever it is I want to control, when I see two people waiting, it bothers me where I'm like, stop waiting. Let's just get to the fun stuff now.
You get angry and then you go to the next level.
You get over your bullshit. You get over your, I get angry because I feel like there's, time is precious. We don't have a lot of it. I'm 37 now. I feel like my biological clock is ticking, all that other fun stuff. And I just think like you could be having the time of your life with your best friend. You could be having really deep, meaningful conversations. You could be having, I don't know, like those aha moments and discovering things about yourself. You could be waking yourself up out of a mental fog that you've been in, whatever the answer might be. But all these things that are stopping you from being who you are or who you want to be, or things stopping you from having fun, I don't want that for you. I want to help you break through faster. And so if I see somebody stuck, or if I see two people just like being ambivalent and not understanding, I'm like, oh, you don't realize how much fun you could be having. You don't realize how much magic there you could be experiencing right now if you just got over your nonsense bullshit. So let me help you wipe that shit away and let's party. I'm like you. I know you like to party, right? I also like to party.
Yeah.
But I like to party like intellectually. I like to party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to the Grit and Bricks podcast.